Hello students, I am CG sir. Today I will discuss about the basis and dimension of a vector space. Okay, and the reference is the book of Linear Algebra by Hoffman and Kunje, page number 40, section 2.3. So students, uh, first of all we have to know the linearly dependent and independent set of vectors. Let V be a vector space over the field F and S be a subset of V. Now S is called a linearly dependent set if there exist distinct vectors alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha n in S and distinct and scalars c1, c2 dot cn belongs to F. It is mistaken, it is given belongs to S, but it should be belong to F, such that not all of C1, C2, Cn equal to 0. That means at least one Ck is non-zero for k equal to 1 to n, such that C1 alpha 1 plus C2 alpha 2 plus dot dot plus Cn alpha n equal to the null vector. Then S is called a linearly dependent set. Otherwise S is linearly independent set. That means whenever this happens for all Ci equal to 0. Now we have some observations that the superset of any linearly dependent set of vectors is also linearly dependent. Number 2, the subset of any linearly independent set of vectors is also linearly independent. If any subset of a vector space contains the null vector theta, it must be linearly dependent. Also, if S is linearly independent set, if and only if each finite subset of S is linearly independent. Okay. Next, we'll define basis. Let V be a vector space over some field F and B, script B, it is a non-empty subset of V such that B is linearly independent and B spans V. Spans V means any arbitrary vector V can be represented as a linear combination of the elements of B. Then we say that B is a basis of the vector space V. We take some example. Let V be the space Rn, n dimensional Euclidean space. F is the space of set of real numbers, the field of real numbers. And what is B? B is the elements, collection of elements epsilon 1, epsilon 2 dot epsilon n, where epsilon 1 equal to 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, epsilon 2 equal to 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, dot epsilon n equal to 0, 0, 0, last element component is 1. Then obviously B is a basis of Rn and this basis is called the standard basis. Example 2, let F be a field and P be an n cross n matrix over the field F. Then suppose P1, P2 dot Pn are the column vectors of the matrix P. Okay, such that Pk, each P1, P2, Pn belongs to Fn cross 1. Since these are the column vectors, so each Pk have n number of rows and one column, and we consider the vector space V as Fn cross 1. Then these columns P1, P2 dot Pn, if we consider them as the elements of V, they form the basis of Fn cross 1. Next example, number 3, let F be a subfield of the field of complex numbers and V be the space of all polynomial functions over F. Clearly, let Fkx equal to x to the power k for k equal to 0, 1, 2 dot dot dot. Okay, that means F0x equal to x to the power 0 means 1, F1x equal to x, F2x equal to x squared, etc. Then B equal to F0, F1, F2 dot dot. It is an infinite basis of V. So we are getting an example of infinite basis for a vector space. Next example, let F be a subfield of the field of complex numbers and v equal to Pn, which is the space of all polynomial functions of degree less than equal to n over f, then fk equal to x to the power k for k equal to 0, 1, 2 up to, it will be up to n. Then b equal to f0 f1 dot dot fn is a basis for the vector space Pn. Now we have the theorem. Let V be a vector space spanned by the vectors beta 1, beta 2 dot dot beta m. Then any linearly independent subset of V contains maximum m number of vectors. That means no linearly independent set of V will have more than m elements. Okay, these are easy tasks, I leave it. Next we have a corollary. Let V be a vector space over the field F, then any two bases of V have the same number of elements. That means the basis is not unique, but the number of elements in different bases, these are unique. And so we define the number of elements in a basis as the dimension of the vector space. Clear? So as in the previous examples, we have only one infinite dimensional vector space, and all other three examples are finite dimensional vector spaces. Next we have a corollary. Let V be a vector space such that dimension of V equal to n, that means finite dimensional vector space. Then if S is a subset of V which contains more than n elements, then S must be linearly independent. And if S contains less than n elements, then S cannot span V. Okay, one can note that if V is the zero subspace, that means V contains only the null element, then dimension of V equal to 0, because if we take a subset S which spans V, then S must contain theta, and any subset of a vector space containing theta is linearly dependent, so that will not span. Therefore we assume it as the 0, the dimension of V is 0. Next we have lemma. Let V be a vector space and S be a subset of V. S is linearly independent and beta is an element of V not containing in S. Clear? Then if we take the set S union beta, that will also be linearly independent. So a vector beta is taken outside S but in V, including this, the set will also be linearly independent. Next theorem. Let V be a vector space and W be a subspace of V, and also dimension of V is finite, that means V is a finite dimensional vector space. Then every linearly independent set S of W is finite and is a part of the basis of W. That means that will form the basis of W by including more vectors from W. Next we have a corollary. Let V be a finite dimensional vector space and W be a proper subspace of V. Okay, proper subspace means there exists at least one element beta in V which is not belonging to W. Then dimension of W must be less than, strictly less than dimension of V. Next, let V be a finite dimensional vector space. Corollary. V be a finite dimensional vector space, then every linearly set of vectors in V is a part of a basis. Every linearly independent set can be extended, you know from the extension theorem from undergraduate level. So any linearly independent set of vectors in V can be extended to a basis, so it must be a part of the basis. Next corollary. Let F be a field and A be an n cross n matrix over the field F. Okay, suppose A1, A2 dot dot An, these are the columns of A, So if we consider them as the column vectors, and if these are linearly independent in Fn, then A is invertible. Okay, it will be linearly independent in Fn cross 1. It will be Fn cross 1. Then the matrix A will be invertible. So if the column vectors are linearly independent vector in Fn cross 1, then the matrix A will be invertible. Next theorem, important theorem. Let V be any vector space and W1, W2 be two finite dimensional subspaces of V. Clear? Then we know that W1 plus W2 is the set of alpha plus beta, such that alpha belongs to W1 and beta belongs to W2. Then W1 plus W2 is a subspace of V. Okay, since W1 and W2 are finite dimensional, the dimension of W1 plus W2, that will be dimension W1 plus dimension W2 minus dimension of W1 intersection W2. Okay, you can prove them easily. I leave it for the students.